At that time, the police sometimes end their investigations with explanations that are difficult for the public to understand. This is just a part of it, but if possible, please stop the video, take a good look at everything, and you will clearly see how strange it is. There are many things to consider about the background of this. Political issues, anti-social organizations, and religions. This time it's especially about that. Was it really suicide, or was something staged? I will introduce some cases that are hard to understand. The case of Otokuni Masatoshi's suicide. On the night of October 26, 2015 in Takatsukayama, a place in Mitani, Hino City, Tokyo, a child was found dead, completely naked, hanging by the neck with both hands and feet bound. The deceased was a 4th grade boy living in Hino City. The unnatural position of the body raised suspicions of foul play. However, the police quickly concluded it was a suicide. Was there something about the boy that led to this early decision, or was it really suicide? Let's examine the details. On October 26, 2015, around 11 a.m., the boy told his mother he was going out to play and left the house. As evening approached, he had not returned home. Around 6:30 p.m., his worried mother reported it to the police, who began searching. Near the Koko Line Takasaka station, on a small mountain slope commonly called Takasaka-yama, he was found lying face down, not moving. He was taken to the hospital, but his death was confirmed. The cause of death was determined to be strangulation. It was thought that the man had hanged himself with a tree, but there were many unnatural points about his death. The temperature was low that day, but it didn't seem to matter. The body was in surprisingly good condition. The clothes he was supposedly wearing were folded neatly nearby. The exposed hands and feet had no signs of clothing or accessories like gloves or socks. It's too early to determine if it was a suicide. I think most people would feel a sense of harmony, but let's take a closer look at the situation. This is about the man who passed away. The boy lived with his parents and younger sister, a family of 4, and they had moved here in January 2014. They didn't have many close acquaintances in the area, although he was registered at a nearby elementary school. In reality, he attended a school in the city run by a private educational institution called P. This school was a bit unusual, as it emphasized the students' independence to the extreme, and ultimately, its goal was said to be fostering a sense of the universe or cosmic awareness. They have adopted educational methods, and some graduates have even become entertainers. Stories suggest that the kindness of the teachers and staff at this school is so remarkable that even the students laugh about it. Since we're discussing this in person, it appears that no further details can be shared. That's all I can say. Thanks for understanding. This location is 654 yards southwest of the station in a residential area. It has a large open space for children to play during the day, but it's very dark and secluded at night. Mr. Otoko often played here with friends but was alone that day. The ground is soft, with a steep slope covering the area. However, only the boy's footprints and drag marks were found. The body had no visible external injuries. It is a 1.5 meter long vinyl material used for wrapping around trees in gardening and similar applications. The body was lying on its side on a sloped area as if it had collapsed face down. Both hands and feet were bound with vinyl, but the knots were rather loose. It was in a state where it could move freely, and it seemed like the person could have untied it themselves. That's what it means. No fingerprints or traces of a third party, such as A, were found on the vinyl that bound both hands and feet. There was no evidence that the man had been struggling with anything. The only footprints were those of the man himself, and no other fingerprints or traces, such as A's, were found on the vinyl. The police have determined that there are no signs of third-party involvement. Therefore, it is quickly concluded that the boy either caused some kind of accident on his own or that it was a suicide. There was nothing in the mother's comments or the classmates' comments to suggest that the boy was troubled by anything. The possibility of suicide is considered unlikely due to the thin line and circumstances surrounding the accident, suggesting the boy lost his balance while playing and accidentally fell over the guardrail. However, it's noteworthy that the 4th grade boy, for unknown reasons, removed his clothes in an inappropriate location. Do you think a 4th grade boy would play by wrapping his arms and legs around a tree and then hanging his head from it? He lived nearby. An 82-year-old woman responded to the interview as follows. Around 9 p.m. that day, about 10 patrol cars gathered. They were driven out of their homes, but even after midnight, there was no explanation given to the nearby residents. Even though the sudden end of the investigation left everyone uneasy and the unnatural situation continued, there was no evidence in reality that a third party was involved. There are many possible cases to consider, but basically there are these 2. Whether it was taking one's own life, an accident, or even a crime, most opinions on the internet lean toward it being a crime. I can't agree with that opinion, and to put it bluntly, this man's life was a bit different from what most people would consider normal. That's just my personal opinion. He attended a school run by a legal entity, and while there were rumors about incidents or bullying at that school, I personally don't think those circumstances had much to do with the background of this case. Also, regarding the police's early intervention, that's just my own speculation, but the boy, under a certain unique educational policy promoted by the legal entity, ended up believing in things like communicating with the universe, and as a result, would sometimes be naked or move around on all fours. And so, I can't help but think that maybe, in the end, this led to the accident. Also, the idea that it was suicide, or the way the mother seemed troubled and said things like, "My child is gone," when you look at it from a normal perspective, it all just seems very strange and hard to believe. The school's educational policy, despite the teacher's smiling demeanor, resulted in the children never smiling themselves. This suggests that something peculiar was happening at the institution. If there was pressure from above on the police and they were forced to back off, then it's possible that there were no traces left by anyone else. Normally that's strange. Mr. Minoru, what do you think? When people want to hide their past, they tend to use whatever means they have at their disposal, whether it's their connections, money, or anything else. In this case, I can't help but feel like there's something suspicious going on. That's all I have to say for now. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.